Hello and welcome to this video. If you are watching this video, there's probably a very good chance that you are actually in your first year of grieving, your first year of widowhood, first year of loss, and wondering why everything feels so difficult, confusing and unsteady. Before we even start, I just wanted to quickly introduce myself. My name is Ruth Murray and I live in New Zealand, and 33 years this year. My late husband Phil died very suddenly of a massive brain tumour, of a brain tumour and a massive brain hemorrhage, which had been brought about from a melanoma that he'd had 2 years previously, which we didn't know that he actually had. So his death was actually very, very sudden. He had the brain hemorrhage when he came home from church one night. Went to hospital. 2 days later, he was gone. At the time, we had two little children, a 3-year-old son and a 15-month-old daughter, and I was pregnant with our third child. So I really didn't see this one coming, and I doubt very much whether he did either. And after his death, I just remember just feeling so chaotic. I felt like the landscape of my life had completely changed. Over that year, I just really started to implement some strategies which I didn't actually realize at the time I was doing. But it's not until I looked back later through my journal and I wrote my book that I started to see that I actually developed some very definite strategies to help me get through my grief and to move forward from that awful moment in my life. So perhaps you are now in the same place that I was at 33 years ago. You are finding it very hard to concentrate. Maybe you're feeling exhausted by the decisions that you never ever had to make alone before. Or perhaps you wake up some mornings and you wonder how this has actually become your life. If that sounds familiar to you, I want you to know that what you're experiencing is far more common than you may actually realize. When we first lose our husband, we don't just lose a person we love. Although to the outside world it may look like that. The outside world does not see the minute details of our life, the minute routines that we had. They don't see the shared dreams that we had. They don't acknowledge the companionship. They don't see the future that we thought we once had, that we were building together. All of that is completely gone. So you're not just grieving the loss of your husband. You're grieving the loss of the children's father if you have children. You're grieving your lost routines. You're grieving your lost shared dreams. You're grieving the lost companionship. And you're also grieving the future that you thought that you had built together. And because of all of those things thrown into one big pot, it can feel that the first year of widowhood is so incredibly unsteady, and it's like the ground beneath our feet has shifted. I always compared widowhood a little bit to having a beautiful, I had a beautiful vase. This is how I saw my marriage. My marriage was a beautiful vase with beautiful flowers in it. And the minute that Phil died, that vase slipped out of my hand and it smashed, and all the pieces were just scattered everywhere. And I honestly couldn't recognize that vase anymore. I couldn't recognize what my life had been like to what it was like now. And it was just so incredibly difficult. It's like the whole landscape of your life shifts. So as a young widow with children, I often felt that I was simply trying to survive one day at a time. And to make sense of the landscape around me, to make sense of all of these broken pieces of my life, right? And there were so many moments in my life when I felt completely overwhelmed with the grief, with the pain, with all the responsibilities that had come on me. I wondered if I would ever feel normal again. I really did, because I didn't know what we were supposed to feel when you're widowed. Is your grief actually normal because you feel so incredibly abnormal? What I didn't understand at the time was that grief actually affects every part of us. It affects our emotions, it affects our thinking, it affects our body, and it affects our sense of identity. And even the simple things that we used to be able to do without any effort can suddenly feel really, really difficult and really, really major. Many widows tell me that they struggle with brain fog. Some feel anxious about making decisions. Others feel disconnected from friends and family who seem to have moved on with their lives. And the many experience the waves of grief that arrive without warning. One moment you may feel reasonably okay, and the next moment, you hear a song, and all of a sudden you just start to bawl your eyes out. The next memory, you might be driving along somewhere and you see a place that you and your late husband used to visit with the kids, with family members. A memory might be sparked, and all of a sudden, you're back in that moment, and the wave of grief just completely overwhelms you with, sadness. All of these emotions come up. If this is happening to you, it doesn't actually mean that you are grieving incorrectly, and it doesn't actually mean that you are weak, and it certainly doesn't mean that you're going backwards. Even if you have 5 good days in a row, for example, and all of a sudden you have an extremely bad day, I used to think, oh my gosh, I'm going backwards, just when I thought I was making progress. It isn't like that at all. It means that you are grieving someone that you deeply loved, and you're grieving all the losses that you have experienced. One of the most important things that I have learned through my own journey is that healing doesn't happen through big dramatic leaps. I wanted it to happen through big dramatic leaps because I wanted to get it over and done with, because it was so incredibly painful. But it happens through small, gentle steps. It happens one day at a time, sometimes 1 hour at a time, one decision at a time, one moment at a time. And as widows, we can often put pressure on ourselves that we need to be stronger, that we need to cope better or move forward more quickly than what we are ready for. I often had people say to me, oh Ruth, you are so incredibly strong. And because they said that to me, I felt that I had to be strong when I was anything but. I was crumbling on the inside all the time. And so my grief became very, very personal because, I didn't want people to know that I was struggling. I didn't quite know how to explain that I was struggling, that it was just so incredibly difficult. How can you explain, the pain of a broken leg, for example, to someone who's never had a broken leg? How can you explain the pain that you feel because of the loss of your husband? What that feels like to someone who has not experienced that. But grief isn't something that we rush. It's something that we learn to carry while we're slowly rebuilding our lives, while we are slowly moving forward from that event. And you will move forward from that event. You will move forward from your loss, and no, your life will never be the same again. I can promise you that, but it can be good again, and I can promise you that one as well. So if you're in the first year of widowhood, I just want to encourage you today. I just want you to be gentle with yourself. I want you to allow yourself grace. I want you to celebrate the small victories in your life, the small daily victories, that you experience, where you were able to rejoice in the nature around you and find gratefulness in that. The fact that you that you managed to carry on, pat yourself on the back and say that you've done well. You did something exciting with your kids, and even though it hurt, you still did it. Celebrate all of those victories. Remember that steady ground is not ever found all at once. It is built one small step at a time. So if this video has encouraged you today, I would love for you to subscribe to my channel. It would actually mean an awful lot to me. And also to get the word out to other people whom you know have been widowed and would benefit from this video. If you would like additional support, you can download my free Steady Ground Method Guide, or you can join my Steady Ground Method community, and I've put the links down below. Thank you for being here today, and know that wherever you are on your grief journey today, please remember this: you are not alone, and there is hope ahead for you. Thank you so much for watching this, and know that I'm praying for you. Even though we don't know each other personally, I will be praying for you because I know what it feels like to walk this awful journey. And you will move forward from it, and God is with you, and you are surrounded by God. You are surrounded by other people when you find them. People who are good friends of yours. They will surround you with love, but you have to learn to ask for it. So anyway, blessings. Bye.